in kind of looking back at my career, and I just told you a few stories, but kind of looking back and saying, okay, now going back in time, where was my head? What was my thinking? And how did that impact, and I've shared a few stories of how my thinking impacted what became my career. But I realized that I had rules. We all have rules that we make up at different parts of our life, and they're based on our experiences. And they guide you, whether you know it or not, they guide you in the decisions that you're making. So I just wanted to share some of my rules and how they evolved and the impact that they had. So in my early career, that was field work in the Rift Valleys of East Africa. That was an awesome summer. Never consider myself a victim because it was easy to be, feel like, okay, I can't get this, people won't let me do that because I'm female, because I was in the minority, and I just decided that just does not serve me. If I feel like there's been any discrimination or anything like that, if I dwell on it, that's all I'm going to see, and that won't serve me well. And so when I started to see it, I just kind of, brush it out of my mind. I'm just going to pretend it's not there, because I don't really know if it's there, and I'll just move on and do the best that I can, and things will work out. So not blaming others. Work harder than anyone else, and I'll get rewarded. That's not an uncommon way to look at things, especially if you're in the minority. Go anywhere and be excellent at your craft. And so that's what I focused on in my early career. And then, as I mentioned, those couple of stories, ask. Even if you think it's unlikely, you just might get it. So don't be afraid to ask. But I was very focused on, to manage all of this, as we all know these are challenges, I had to be efficient. And so I had this decision that I made, is that this idle chit-chat that people like to do at work, there's no time for that. You just got to get down to business. Get down. What do you want? I got to be efficient. I got to get out of here, and I got to put in the, da-da-da-da-da. So that was one of my roles in my mid-career, was that people and their emotions and need to chit-chat get in the way of efficiency and objectivity. So I just needed to focus like a laser beam on my work and avoid that idle chit-chat and be objective. And that actually served me well, but I did learn later that I kind of pissed a few people off, and and that I was known for being unapproachable. I wonder why. This sort of thing. But it did work at the time for me to manage everything. If you are asked, even if it feels scary, to grab the opportunity, seize the moment, figure out how you're going to work it. When I was asked to go to Denmark, I had no idea, how am I going to make this work? But it's just like, I'm going to make it work. I'll make it work. And the same thing came up when Statoil wanted me to move to Norway, and now I have 2 children, and my husband was working with Halliburton. How are we going to make it all work? Had no idea, but we made it work. And there's a bunch of stories behind that one at some stage. Okay, be bold. Now we're getting later on, the kids are growing up. It's not the same issue in terms of traveling the same way. I'm now at Noble Energy. Be bold. You can change the future. And it's really true. You can. Africa. And sometimes people in this industry, we get blamed about how much money isn't not going to the communities, and that it's going to the governments. And we all, of course, as companies, need to make sure we do everything to make sure everything's up and up, and be really, really ethical about it. But it does change their lives. What does go to their government? You cannot run their government. That's their government. But it does make a difference. And some of those things are the most gratifying, to see the difference that you and the company you work with can make on the communities, be that domestically or internationally. I think this one, because remember I talked about being objective, I had to learn, when I was at Noble and was in a leadership position, I felt that I was hitting this proverbial glass ceiling, this time where I just felt like there was more, and I didn't seem to be heard. I didn't know, there was something in the way. And so that's when I decided I need to get a coach. And so I worked with an executive coach. And in a strange way, that's when I learned that efficiency actually does not serve you well later on in your career when you're in a leadership position. It served me well when I was working with the family at that time. but it's recognizing that it's all about people. And I literally, as a scientist, had to learn to love people. And recognize, I'm getting emotional every time I do this. I do. Because it was transformational for me to really recognize that everybody wants to be successful. Everybody wants to be impactful. Everyone wants to be part of something bigger than themselves and do something that they feel is worthwhile. And whether or not everyone gets to do that, or they have the opportunity, or however it all works out, and we all know there's all sorts of ways that things can work out or not work out, to know at the core that that's what everyone wants and to love them for it made a huge impact. So we are all people first. And as you get into leadership, that's the most important thing that for me was to recognize, don't do anything with science. You do things through people with science or business or whatever. Everyone wants to have a purpose and be proud of themselves. And our first reaction to recognize the difference between people responding out of survival, because that's the first thing, is we all need to survive and we'll feel threatened, and recognizing reactions and things that people will have, that it's about their survival, they're feeling threatened. And so it's not because they're against you or anything else, that's a survival mechanism behind it. So just to recognize that was really important. And that the highest quality solution and decision is always, without fail, the best when multiple perspectives are invited in and included as part of the solution. This one, it just amazes me over and over. It doesn't matter how good you think you are, how good a small team thinks they are, if you open it up and get other people involved, the decision quality is always better. I don't care how smart everybody is, the decision quality is always better. That's been my experience. I also, this whole issue of work-life balance, I hate that phrase. Because it makes you think there should be a balance. Well, who says there should be a balance between work and, so life is not work? Wait a minute. Just think of those words, work-life balance. It's all life. I have a younger sister who lives in Western Canada on a ranch. And I have some cousins that I did some summer jobs there when I was in high school. And they don't get to pick up and leave and have vacation. That takes a big of effort because work, their life, keeps going and has to be paid attention to. And it just really hit me that it's all life. And we all just have to figure out all the aspects of our life, how we work them together. And so it's all life, work and home, and kind of getting to that. And therefore, I'm not afraid to do things that are about home when I'm at the office if I need to, and I'm not afraid to take things home that are about the office when I need to. And we all know that happens. But I got very comfortable with the whole thing, but it took a while. Okay, leadership is the key to that next level of success. For me, it was. It's not about the facts. It actually requires, leadership for transformation is actually about the ability to see and act on possibility. It's not about being unemotional either. It's about people. The facts, of course, inform your thinking, but the facts don't speak about everything, about possibility. It's a piece of it. And that you have to, as a leader, create affinity and authentic relationships to enroll people. It's about creating a vision that's inspiring and painting that picture over and over to find purpose and talk to people all the time. It requires inspiring people, not managing and controlling them. We've all had those people. It's really about inspiring people to follow and commit to the vision that you have, or is the best, the vision you create with them. Don't just tell them. It requires authenticity. And, remember I said one of my first rules early in my career was to be one of the guys? Well, obviously I'm not. I'm not a guy. But I sure played like I was and pretended I was and tried to be early in my career because that's how you fit in. And so it did take me a while to actually be authentic and discover myself. Now, I'm not saying it was wrong to do that, because to get going and fit in, you got to fit in, or else you're never going to get in. You're never going to be able to make an impact. But it evolves as you evolve. So you cannot inspire, if you're a leader, you cannot inspire people with a facade. You have to be real. real to yourself, and expressive and vulnerable. It's about ownership, setting high expectations, taking a stand to achieve amazing breakthroughs. Those of you who have worked with me in the past know, especially at Noble, and know the Noble story. That's what it was that made a huge difference. I had no idea how I was going to achieve what I wanted to achieve, but we did it because we just decided to. It's about alignment. It requires a light touch. That laser focus that I talked about when I was on the efficiency gig doesn't do it for alignment. And learning to be contributed to as well as contribute to others in a light touch and in a light way, and to listen really, really well. And see the genius of the people around you and be inspired by others all the time. So these are them. I'll just go through them because I've read them. This is kind of where I am now, being authentic, that focus, never consider myself a victim, has been a good one I kept on. Focus on people, recognizing their genius. It's all about being free for possibility, keeping the facts in mind. You don't lose them, but that's not all there is. Creating a vision, inspiring myself and others to be invulnerable, understand my boss's world and talk to them and set high expectations and take stands and use a light touch and create real ownership for myself and anyone I'm with. And my biggest influence, of course, is the people I work with, but my family. And there's a couple of quotes. Einstein also has influenced me. We can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. And reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. So it's about creating your reality that can create a possibility that changes things. And then find your own inspiration. And this is a quote from Marianne Williamson, that whenever I feel, because I do get in that place where I'm kind of down and start to feel that victim thing come in, and it always helps me. And I just want to read it because I find it inspiring and I think it useful to read. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people will not feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. We are liberated from our own fear. Our presence automatically liberates others. That's it. But the second, the more traditional career question, I certainly have, it's having an impact on the communities you're in. And so obviously the West Africa, I've done several different things in West Africa. Some things in the U.S. As well as Israel that I know have made a difference for other people. And it's now shifted, so it's having a positive impact on the communities that I work in, and it's now shifting to having a positive impact, I hope, on new people, young people, newer in their career, in terms of mentoring or anything I can help out, improve. Enabling technology that transformed how we are. I mean, everyone wants to, have energy to be effective and be productive. And knowing you're part of that kind of an industry, even through all the ups and downs, you just got to keep working on that. I don't know what else to say. There'd be a lot more we could talk later, but those would be the biggies. Thank you. Noble was a bit of a culture shock when I first went there. And I must admit, there were about 250 people when I first joined Noble, and I didn't realize at the time I was the only professional woman in the entire company, and I didn't know that. They didn't tell me. Chuck Davidson says, I'll just give you that information. That's proprietary until you join the organization chart. It was the best decision I made, though. I really, really enjoyed it. It's a little more, you know, as those of you who are in smaller companies, it's a little more, you're conscious of everything you do makes a difference, and it makes it alive. And so I enjoyed that. Of course, the company grew significantly, but just being part of something that could grow and make a difference was awesome. It's really nice. It was good. Yeah.
Did you ever struggle with indecision?
Always. Always. Always struggle with indecision, to be honest. But it was another one of the rules I didn't have down there, is that if something is challenging and scares me, I guess I kind of had it in there. That's the reason to do it. And just stepping back and you got to make a decision, and you just got to get the input and everything else and the best you can and move on. But you got to do it.
Scary is good.